Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. I'm honored to introduce Hamayun Aslan. Hamayun and I met in 2002 in Bamiyan province, Afghanistan. Hamayun, at age 18, spoke English. And I met him and I thought, wow, because we were out in a ethnic minority area where most of the people in Afghanistan speak a different language. So I kind of latched onto him for 7 months and we worked side by side together. It was an amazing experience, and he's an amazing person, and his whole family is here with him, scattered around the room. I'm delighted that they all came up. Debbie and I hosted them yesterday afternoon and last night. Question?
Bruce, would you say very shortly what you were doing over there and what your job was over there?
Okay.
Very shortly, what you were there that you were.
All right. We were in the Hazarajat region, which is in Bamiyan province, Afghanistan. Most of the people that live there are of the Hazara ethnicity, which Hamayun and family are. They were really brutalized by the Taliban, and a lot of the men were murdered, and there were a lot of female-headed households. And what specifically was there to do was all their homes had been burned, the markets had been burned, and it was to work with local people, not outside contractors, to reconstruct the area. We did herd replenishment, market reconstruction, water projects, schools, because the schools had all been vandalized and damaged. And in a period of 7 months, with the hard work of local people, we got tons of things accomplished. And Hamayun, and I'll close with this, Hamayun went back there the year before he moved here, and went back to the area where we worked, and he said that a lot of our work was still intact and used. Okay?
Thank you.
So here I present Hamayun Aslan. We have a nickname for each other, Road Fighter. So Hamayun the Road Fighter.
Good morning, everybody. And it is my honor to stand here before you and speak up and share my knowledge and share my experience working with Bruce in Afghanistan. And also today, we're going to talk about the World Bank. So before I get into the presentation, so let me tell you a little bit about my own experience. So, and introduce myself. So my full name is Hamayun Aslan, and I'm married to Amina Aslan over there. And we have got 4 children. We are of Hazara minority. And we moved to United States in December 18, 2018. So I started working with U.S. military and civilian organization for the past 20 years. So I was initially an interpreter with the U.S. military and that special forces. And then I meet Bruce in Bamiyan. So what we did was that was a BPRM project. So to initiate market, road, schools, houses. So we get a lot of stuff done with the help of the local peoples that we hired. So we did really good. So in comparison to what I'm doing right now, when I look into it, so we had limited resources, and the budget was less, and the output was a lot, much more impactful and bigger than what we are doing right now. Today, what I'm talking is about the World Bank, and this is just what I say is everything is my own experience. I'm not representing and I'm not speaking on behalf of the World Bank. So I'm only sharing my own experience. So this is it. So today we are going to talk about a few slides, maybe 10-15 minutes. I talk, and then we can open up for question and answers so that you guys can ask any questions. I've got some health issues too. So I've got my back burned. The nerves are burned, so I'm not sensitive to any questions. So you can ask anything, okay? So,
Let me, your slides are not showing on Zoom, are they?
right. They're not?
And I think, because of the way you shared, you shared the PowerPoint, but not this, when you went to the show presentation.
Do we have people online now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So if you could, go to share and then maybe share this presentation screen.
Probably, I don't know if this is intercepting with if I go here.
Go to up here. Here. So you want to share?
This presentation or screen one?
You want to share this?
Okay. And then is it showing now, Peter?
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I hope that it is automatic. So. All right. So today, the main purpose of today's presentation would be for me to. I cannot see it myself, Okay. So I give you an introduction of the World Bank, and then an overview of the World Bank and what is World Bank doing and how the World Bank is helping the humanity. So I don't know, I wrote the word poor, but that is because of the World Bank has got a goal to end extreme poverty. So that's the reason I put that. So today from here, I'll give you an overview of the World Bank, and then an example of the World Bank in the field office, a few figures and numbers, and then you can understand from that, from your own judgment, that how the World Bank is helping humanity or poor around the world. So in order for me to give you an overview of the World Bank, so I need to talk a little bit about the history of the World Bank, and then from there you can understand the missions of the World Bank, and then get to and you always have an opportunity to ask questions if you need to. So the World Bank was established in still not sharing.
Not showing up there.
Oh. Can you help with this? Because
here. And how is your screen sharing set up?
See, this is screen 2. It said.
Yep.
So this must be screen 1.
Yeah. There's the mouse pointer, and we are in Zoom. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
And maybe he wants to go into presentation mode.
Yep.
yeah, probably
Oh,
click here
thank you.
to share.
Thank you. Notice I don't do this a lot myself. And now there should be a presentation mode that we can use. You probably know more about PowerPoint and presentation mode.
There's usually a box over here that
Yes.
This is slightly more complicated. I need to figure out where the screen setup is. Display. Precisely. Very good. Now we go back into your PowerPoint. Okay,
I think we're there.
now we got this, and now you
Now
should be
are
able.
we sharing it though?
Yep,
Okay.
we got it.
Yep,
Okay.
I think we're good.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that. So the World Bank was established in 1949, and it was the main intention of the World Bank was to reconstruct Germany in Japan, those two economies that they were basically damaged by the World War II. And that was the main idea. And then there was 28 countries, and United States was leading into that. And then they formed this World Bank. The World Bank was only at that time, there was only one entity. Right now, it is World Bank Group. It has 5 entities that they are working together as a one bank. But at that time, they only reconstructed the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So with the goal to reconstruct Germany and Japan's economy. And then later on, when they did that, and the project in the organization that they established was very successful. And then they said, okay, yeah, I think we should keep it, and we should bring some amendment and to do some work with the private sector. And then they established IFC in 1956. So IFC is working with the private sector. And then in 1958, so they did their first partnership with India Aid. So they were working also with other organizations around the globe that they were working in the field of development. Back in the 60s, so the bank just got extensions. So they extended, they tried to form different, to expand the World Bank. They created another organization is IDA. So that is financing loan to the low income countries. And then in 1963, so they also created another bank that works with the agriculture. And then in 1966, they created Exit. So that is with the private sector, if there was a dispute, how they would do the settlement. So I do not personally myself, I do not work in Exit. I do not work with IFC because they have got their own policies, procedures, and everything on the private sector or MEGA. I only work with IDA. So IDA is working with the low-income countries. I am working from Washington, D.C., and I work for 5 countries in South Asia. So it is Bangladesh, Bhutan, and then Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Those are the 5 countries that I work in. I am the representative, and I'm an operation officer here in Washington, D.C., and I work with the office of the regional president and also with the CMU to making sure that our portfolio lending and everything that we are doing is within the timeline and the budget that we are doing it. So I do not have a lot of information about the other entities that they are there. So, but in 1970s, so they adjusted the bank. So the bank was start giving money to the low income countries in the form of loans and credits. So, but when the bank really started doing that, the IDA, and then the poor countries got more poorer because they were in big debt. So and there was NGOs and other and other organizations that they didn't like it, and they criticized the World Bank that you are giving money to the poor countries, so you are giving loan, and then they're in big debt. So this is not right. So the bank after that up to now, so trying to focus its priority aligned with the priority of the government that they are working. For example, in Nepal, they are working closely hand in hand with the government of Nepal to making sure that whatever the World Bank is doing, it is aligned with the priority in the long-term objectives of that particular government. So it is still adjusting that. So, all right. So since everything was changing from 1980s afterward, for example, between 2002 and 2010, the developing countries, their growth was very fast. They grow 4 times faster than the developed economies like Japan and United States and other countries. So the bank reshaped in their strategies in response into to basically making sure that they are doing, because the problem with that was that some of the poor, the 40% of the poor in the country, they were getting more poor, and the people on the top, they were getting more rich. So they come up with a goal, so that this goal is for which is right now until 2030, I think, that they come up with a goal that we should do in extreme poverty. So that's meaning that every person is in the poor, in the developing countries, that they are living like $1.25 a day. So that needs to end. So it's lesser. There are people in the world that they are living below $1.25 a day. So that's an extreme poverty. They would like to end that, the World Bank. That's one of the goals. And also to promote shared prosperity. That's the second goal of the World Bank. So and then the benchmark is to that 40% of the people in the developing countries, that they are the bottom, so their income needs to grow. So this is the 2 goals of the World Bank. Everything that the World Bank is doing in the developing countries right now, operational in 130 countries, and they are making sure that whatever they do, they needs to support these 2 goals. So to end extreme poverty and to promote shared prosperity. So this is the 2 things that the World Bank is trying to align all their operations in the projects to support this 2. As I told you before, I touched base on the institutions of the World Bank. So mainly we are working in 2 different sectors. So public sectors and the private sectors. So there's a World Bank as a whole. Right now it is called World Bank Group. So this is consistent of the 5 institutions that they are working. So a lot of people think, when initially I heard myself that the World Bank, I thought the World Bank is like a commercial bank, another bank, but that is working with the general public, but that's not true. So the World Bank is really working with their member countries, that they have got 188 member countries, and that is in the institution that they have got on the public sector, they have got IBRD, that's working with the middle income countries. And then IDA is International Development Agency, that is working mostly with the lower income countries, and it was giving money in the form of grant or very low interest free loans. So interest free it means that there is still administrative costs. So maybe 2%, 3%. I don't know the exact amount because there's other department that they are working on that, with the financing agreement. On the other three major institutions that is in the World Bank is IFC working with the private sectors, and that was established in 1954, and right now working in some of the developing countries focused on the private sectors. They are operating in 100 countries. MEGA it's providing guarantee to the foreign investment companies that they are working with the private sectors. Except, as I said, this is for the center of settlement for investment disputes. So if there's any disputes, the World Bank will, the dispute will be settled there. So now that we know that the World Bank was formed, and then it's not only one institution, there's 5 institutions. So I would like to give you an overview that how this entity, it's big. It's operating in 130 countries. It has over 15,000 employees. So how everything would be managed. So the governance, the World Bank is owned by all its members. So 188 member countries. So in their membership of the World Bank is basically open to all countries that they have got a membership of IMF, International Monetary Fund. So any country in the world who are open to the membership, or they are member of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, they can apply, they can come to the World Bank and ask for a membership, and we are open. We'll give them. So since the members are 188 countries, it is very hard to govern this thing with 180 with members. So what they have appointed the governors. So the governors there are in total of 25 executive directors, and they are based in Washington, D.C. So some of the countries that they have got a higher share, that later on I'll show you that which country has how much shares, they have got 1 executive directors. There are a total of 25. And then for example, France, Germany, Japan, Russia, UK, Saudi Arabia, and USA, they have got their own executive directors. And the remaining of out of 188 countries, which is another 18 executive directors, they've got their constituencies. So they are 5, 6, 7, 8 countries. They are together in one constituency, and they have got 1 executive director in the Washington, D.C. And these 25 people, they are the ultimate decision maker in the policy makers of the World Bank. So whatever the World Bank does, these 25 executive directors need to give their approvals. So for our operations, our development operation is oversighted by IEG. This is another organization. It's an independent evaluation group. So just to avoid the conflict of interest, whatever we do, so this entity will independently evaluate the World Bank, that how effective the projects in the everything that we do is does that meet the goals, and then what it was intended for, does that meet? This is the evaluation group. So the World Bank, now that we have, how many times do we have?
We're like 28 minutes in.
Okay, 28 minutes, okay. So
So it's just before 12.
okay.
We started at 11:30.
Okay, all right. So the World Bank have different windows to finance. So IDA is with the loans to the low-income countries. IBRD is working with the middle-income countries. So, and then we also got another part of money, that is trust fund. So the trust fund is mostly coming from the United States, and then also coming from the other countries that they are giving trust fund. So in Afghanistan, we had a lot of that. So trust fund was given, and it was for the specific purpose, for the girls' education, for schools, sanitations, and all that. So these are, so in the World Bank is giving these money would be spent it. So from those windows, we are giving to, we have these products so that we can, through that, we can spend money. So the first one is DPF, it's Development Policy Financing. From the name probably you can know it is a budget, a money, something to do with the policy. So the World Bank is working with the client country to make sure that they give some prior actions. So making sure that these their policies are open, and then they have got open policy and the foreign investments or whatever they agree into the project documents, project appraisal documents, and then the money would be given in $200, an example, $500 to that country. That is a budget support. So we do not monitor, and then at one tranche, once the money is gone to the Ministry of Finance of the client country, they can spend wherever they are because they have amended and they brought some changes to their policy. The other one is IPF, Investment Project Financing. This is similar to what Bruce and we did in Afghanistan. So this is for reconstruction or construction of hospitals, road, bridges, in schools, whatever. These are a lot of projects would be through this IPF. And we have got mechanism to monitors. And the other one is a P4R. So that is if the government, it's program for result. If the government has a big program, and then one portion of that program need particular funding, and the government is shortage of that, and then the bank will come up and work with that client, and then give the money, and then as the result is achieved, so we give the money. So also we do have advisory services, knowledge and technical assistance. Some of the countries that they need technical assistance, we give some of the personnel to work with that to do a capacity building. So the financing instrument, I think I'll skip because of the time, because I have in this one, I have on the DPF, IPF, and P4R, I have explained this. So these are some of the conditions for the DPF that it is. So if it's a set of critical policy instrument actions agreed with the bank and the client meet that, and then we extend this credit to the government. Otherwise, if this action, those institution actions agreed, if they does not give that money, if they do not bring changes to their policy, the loan cannot be dispersed. Am I going? Okay. So now that we have got the bank as a general, that was how the bank was operating, but how we do in the field. So in the field, we are a metrics organization. We have got every country that the bank is operating. We have got a country management unit. So the country management unit has a CPF, a country partnership framework, and that is aligned with the priority of the government. So all the projects, whatever we do in the form of DPF, P4R, or investment project financing, that needs to be aligned with the priority of the government. So the CPF, the country partnership framework, is a 5 years plan for each country, and that is basically the business plan of the World Bank to do in different countries. Each country has its own CPF or country partnership framework, their own business plan to complete things on that. So also in this CMU is we have got the country management is including of a country directors and operation managers, and also we have got practice managers. So I would like to give a quick information on how we prepare a project. So the as I said, the priority of the government and the CPF, they has to be aligned. So for that, once that is aligned, so we are working with the client country. They either they request DPF money for a budget support, or if they request money for the projects, they need to send a request. Once the request is arrived to the CMU, and then the country management unit do an evaluation of the request, making sure that we have got the budget and everything, and this is aligned with the CPF, with our business plan, and it is aligned with the two goals of the World Bank. Then we do an identification of the projects. So missions come, they create an they are preparing the project. So once the project is prepared, it will go to, let me go to the next slide so that I can tell you. So once the project is identified that this is a project, the World Bank agrees at the field in the country office. So we call it the preparation stage. At the preparation stage, there is a concept note that would be developed. So once the concept note is developed, we do review the concept note. The country director ultimately make a decision to go ahead with the project or not. If the country director is okay with it, so we disclose that information and we go to the next stage. So the next stage would be to appraise the whole package, the project agreement documents, some of the legal draft agreements that we have got. So if that is in accordance to the policy and the procedure that we have got, and then the country director make a decision that yes, go ahead with the project, and then appraise it. So appraisal, the TTL and the team, they complete a note, an appraisal completion note, and then we negotiate with the government. The government comes together in to the World Bank office, in that particular country office. They negotiate, they talk about the part, the project agreement document, the legal agreement, the project appraisal documents, all of those, the disbursement letter, whatever, all these legal documents in the project documents, they go one by one. And then if they agreed, the negotiation is complete, the city authorized the negotiation, and then it goes back to the final stages, as I told you, the 25 executive director in Washington, D.C. So they are the ultimate decision maker to go ahead with the project or not. So once, and then that will go to this 25 executive director. If they are okay with it, and then they approve, that the project is approved, and then it would be signed. There is a signing ceremony, and it takes time. It is not like what we did Bruce and I did with the BPRM project. So this project preparation takes about sometime around in 18 months sometime to prepare a project. Okay.
Would not be in there.
So some of the factors some of the numbers that I can tell you right now, that how much in South Asia alone. So we have got our portfolio, the middle column, we have got 274 projects, and that is worth of $58 billion in South Asia. This is including India, the 5 countries that I named, India, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. So there are 8 countries in South Asia map, and that is about $58 billion projects, and that's from the 274 projects. And then in this year of this report I generated was from 31st of October, in the pipeline for FY24, which is, we have got another 9 months. Within another 9 months, we know that another 57 project is coming, and then the commitment with the required budget would be $10 billion. That would be in the next fiscal year. So you might ask a question that where all these money is coming from. So it is from the capital contribution of the member countries. And then it is also from the World Bank is borrowing money from the financial markets, and then they do investment in some earning from the IBRD. The World Bank earn money. We give money to the middle income countries. They do, and then there is an interest. So that interest that generate profit, and then that's where we give this money be reallocated to developing countries. So this is, I think this is the last slide. So it is worth to know that we got some of the shares in the stakeholders of the World Bank. So United States has got about 17%, and then Japan is 6%, Germany is 3rd, and then Russia has 2.89% share in the World Bank. So this is basically it. Thank you very much for your attention. We're open up for any questions that you may have.
Would it be possible for you to give us an idea of one project that was very successful and then maybe a project that is not so successful? So we have an idea of the kinds of things like.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the project that it was very successful at Cox's Bazar, it was an IPF project investment. That was a project investment project in Cox's Bazar is in Dhaka, and that is a lot of refugees are there. So one project was to build the schools for them, and then for the kids that there is a huge number of refugees from Myanmar that they came to Bangladesh in Dhaka, and they were in need of hospitals, and the kids was in need of education. So this project of Cox's Bazar was a very successful project because a huge number of families, they got access to once the project was implemented and it was under implementation, they got access to water sanitation, and their kids went to the school. And then an example of a project that was not successful. So in total in South Asia, we have got around 18 projects that they are not really successful. So they are under preparation. They are under preparation for 18 months, and they spend about $600,000. Still, the projects are not prepared fully. So that's what we are trying to eliminate projects like that. Either that's consuming a lot of time, and that in spending a lot of money, but it never come into an implementation. It is not only on the side of the World Bank, it could be on the side of the government. There's a lot of bottlenecks that they are working together. They are not working together. So to make this project effective soon enough, so that because one of the big parameter for me looking in Washington, D.C. is that I look into the disbursement. So disbursement, if a project is not disbursing, an IPF is not dispersing, so as it was intended, so I know that when the money is not lending into the bank account of that particular country, so the services are not going to the people that it was intended. So
is that primarily due to corruption that rises within the country?
We are still trying to understand. Some of it is true because some of for example, in Bangladesh, they have got a very strict policy in terms of getting this loan approved. There are some bottlenecks that requires some simplification of the process.
Okay.
But definitely in case of Sri Lanka, because it was a middle income country, and then now it is dropped back into an either recipient country because of the corruptions that was in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was in big crisis of macro crisis, that they were not able to pay their debt back and all of that. And then it was certainly within the corruption that it was in the country. I do agree that the corruption is one of the major factors of projects not being successful, or not to go to the approval stage. Yes.
Thank you.
With a question like that, can you send people that work for the World Bank into the situation that they're trying to mend or fix or build up?
Yeah,
Does the World Bank have representatives that are right there on the site?
yes, World Bank has a country manager, a representation in every country that they are operating. They have got a country management unit. Here's a country director, an operation manager. There are between 50 to 100 people, and there are some STCs. Yes, we do the World
Or
Bank
outside in the country.
in the country,
Okay.
in the country that they are working. But they do monitor, and there is a particular unit of that IEG, Independent Evaluation Group. So just to eliminate the World Bank gives information, whatever is their idea, and that IEG, that Independent Evaluation Group, they need to conduct their own assessment of the situation to find out that what the problem might be.
There's a question.
Yeah, sure.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation, for all the work you're doing. My question relates to infrastructure within the country that the monies are going to.
Mhm.
So the recipients of the monies. And how does the World Bank assure that the monies that are being dedicated to, let's say, Sri Lanka, to the government of Sri Lanka, are actually are going to the infrastructure projects that they're designated for?
Okay. Yeah, let me come back into that.
Yeah, I see the graph.
So the projects that we have got, for example, in case of a Sri Lanka or any other project that is an investment project financing, is a project is approved, it's signed, and then it has to go for implementation. So the project we do have in Afghanistan, because of the security situation, the World Bank was not able to monitor itself directly into like we did. So that was a big issue, that the World Bank was giving the money and there was a third-party monitor who was working due to the security that they had in Afghanistan. But in some of the countries, that security is okay, so they are working directly with the government. So those projects, they have got defined development objectives. So each project has got a defined development objective in activities, so that there is an activity that they agree on that, and then there is a baseline data, and that the World Bank in every 6 months there is an implementation support mission that would go into the site, and then they see that how they are doing, and then making sure that the activities, the result is and the activities that they are doing, that is what's the word? It matches. Yeah, it balance. Yeah, it matches it. So this is based on their result framework that they have got, and the activities they monitor based on that. So their monitoring mechanism is that they have got one big projects, they bring it into smaller pieces of activities, and on each activity, so they do check their results to make sure that they are working for us. So the World Bank basically trying to get, for every dollar that they spent on the IPF, to get an accountability for that. But for the DPF, that was a policy financing, that was a budget support, and it goes at one tranche, and we don't know that where and how that money is spent. And because this is mostly in the form of loan, so the Ministry of Finance has to repay the money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I would like to know what you, Mr. Aslan, do when you go back to DC. What are you going to be doing next week?
Yeah. Yeah, I've got this I've got different issues. So one is next week, we are also expecting a delegation that is coming from Nepal. So that we are a delegation that's coming from Nepal, and that particular minister, including some of the other accompanying of the minister. So I would be facilitating his meeting with the concerned bodies. So this is one. And then secondly, so my periodic job is to look into these lending portfolio and ASAs that we have got. So on the countries that I have got, those 5 countries, I'm particularly working with the TTLs into making sure that activities are happened as agreed into they have put different dates. For example, if you do some renovation in your house, right? So, and then you have got in this particular date, this has to happen. For example, a project preparation, we say the concept review is in this date, and then the appraisal is at this stage, and the negotiation is in this date. And then I'm making sure that the milestones of the projects are realistic, working with the TTLs to making sure
What's a TTL?
Sorry about this, because I've been working five years now. It's task team leader. So the task team
leader. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the guy who's on site.
On site,
Right.
yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. And then, but most of the time, those to making sure that the report is available to the governors, to the regional vice presidents, to peoples, that I'm making sure that dates are realistic and they are not overdue. If there is some sort of problem, I need to find it out that what the problem is. And then if you're changing the milestones, from the initial dates, what's the justification? And then need to clear it with the regional vice president.
Yes, you mentioned just now that you, I think I understood that you're still giving money to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, it's a little bit tricky. So Afghanistan, the situation, because the World Bank, right after the collapse of the government, and then the Taliban took over, and then there is a United Nations and some other NGOs that they are working with the people of Afghanistan, not involving the Taliban. Okay, not involving the Taliban. So the World Bank, right now, Afghanistan is not one of the countries that I work for. As far as I have the information, I think they do have a presence. There is a humanitarian support that the World Bank is giving money in the form of from the trust fund bucket, and giving it to the United Nations in the UNDP, UNAPS, in UNICEF, working in those countries, those UN institutions that they are working with the children, with the schools, with the hospital to spend money there.
I was going to say, because we know no matter what, the Taliban may have said at the beginning that they are in fact not allowing the education of women, and that any efforts, money spent on that,
From
big waste of time.
from grade 1 to grade 5 to grade 6, still the education is for the boys and girls. It's allowed? Yeah.
Up through 5th grade.
5th grade, that's correct.
But for girls are eliminated after 5th grade.
That's correct.
Education.
And the health sector is still, for example, one of my sister is still in Afghanistan. She is a doctor. She is working for a French organization called MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières, and she is a doctor there, and she gets this budget that's coming from the UN and from the donations or the trust fund from the European countries, and including the United States. So that goes into those NGOs in the form of salary and the medicines and health facilities, stuff like that. Yes, please.
Sorry.
This may be impossible to answer, but if you looked at the overall, all of the World Fund Group, Is there any way to get a general idea of how much money is being spent on administration and monitoring and how much money is going to projects? You kind of. I mean,
Yeah,
and not that administration and monitoring is important. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah, I do not have a knowledge about that right now, that how much money they are spending, but I know from the past experience from the ARTF that we were having 3% of the budget, 3% of the budget being as an administrative cost to the World Bank. So, but I don't know that how much right now in these. For example, there are cases that they are in countries that they are the project preparation take long, and the project cycle is long, and there's in countries that they are doing the project preparation takes only 5 months. So there's a big difference between 2 years and 5 months. So the longer you get the project prepared, the more money you're going to spend on the project preparation. So mostly on the administration of the project, once the project is approved, it is mostly for 5 years. But and if a project is extended, so there is more money that we need to spend. If a project finishes within 5 years, so the administration cost would be relevantly acceptable. Yeah.
I'm just curious about the executive committee. Once a project gets before the executive committee, now does each country of the 65, do they each get one vote? Is it majority rules?
Yeah.
Do politics enter into any of this?
It is. So there's 25, there's not 65. There are 25 executive directors, and they are voting. I don't know that there is probably, I don't know exactly that how much of that voting that they are doing that in.
Whether it's majority.
Yeah, I think there is a majority rule, but specifically that what percentage of the majority and who does. But there is a political political thing there too. So any country that is friend with the US, they are getting easy. Their projects is getting.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, because the World Bank has the voting power is 17% in comparison to all other countries that they have got a smaller voting power. So it's very minimal. So that does not affect. Yeah.
Anything else?
I wondered, does the World Bank use volunteers at all? Or is it just once a project's underway, they're the ones that get volunteers, or is volunteerism not as big?
The volunteers for the people that they can work for the World Bank? Are you?
Yeah.
Yes, there are a group of volunteers each year that the World Bank is recruiting the young volunteers that they're coming as and they are the trainees. So they stay with the World Bank for a few years, and then to probably a year or two, just to get, because it is the project preparation and everything, the acronyms and the policy, the procedure of the World Bank. It is complicated. It takes for anyone that's coming into the bank, so that it takes about 3 years. It's still they're saying if somebody in the World Bank 3 years, it's still you're new. So, and then for that reason, so there are volunteers, and those volunteers mostly would be converted into staff later on. Yeah.
Anything else?
This is actually a question for the two of you guys, having spent time in Afghanistan. Given the grip the Taliban has on the country now, do you see is this a long-term thing, or is there any chance of change? Or is this what it's going to be like for the next 10 plus years or so?
I
Go first.
I know it's a loaded question.
it is, but it's a question of great concern. I believe that with the level of control that the Taliban has, I think that progress is going to be indefinitely stalled on the health front, the education front, building an economy. I don't feel good about it. And I try to be an optimistic person, but it's very hard for me to be optimistic about the way things are going there now. And I think that, unfortunately, some of the progress that was made over the last 20 years is even being physically destroyed at this point. And hardly a day goes by that I don't personally hear from people that we used to work with in Afghanistan. Everybody's focus is they want to get out. And you know, they don't have enough to eat, they don't have work. It's a really broken environment, I'm afraid. I would love to have you disagree with me.
I think because as Bruce introduced myself, so I am a Hazara minority in Afghanistan. So from that ethnicity, so from my face, so people in power, the Taliban, Pashtuns, and Tajiks, they automatically know me. So in my ethnicity has been under a persecution of the government and the Taliban for decades, for 250 years. So in about 100 years ago, they basically committed and slaughtered and killed 63% of the Hazaras in Afghanistan. So these were Pashtuns. So right now, seeing the history that what was in Afghanistan for the last 250 years, and then only this period of 25 years that the U.S. came with some democracy, because I work with the dissemination of democracy with the United Nations too. I work with a lot of U.S. militaries, and then our compound was under attack and all that. But I know situation was not good at that time either. But right now, given that what is from the history and that the Taliban is Taliban is back, and then whatever they eliminated the others, and there are only one power, and they have got everything that they wanted. So they are now got helicopters, they have got powers, they have got the resources, the budget, and everything. So I think, unfortunately, I'm not optimistic about a change there too. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Yes.
In the minute we have left,
Okay.
how is life in the U.S. for you and your family? How's it been?
Yeah, I think for me, it has been my life in Afghanistan. I was, before coming here, I was an operation manager for UNDP, for the United Nations Development Fund, and I was working with the Independent Election Commission of Afghanistan for many years. I conducted many elections there in Afghanistan. It was on the technicality side of it. It was good. There was always political issues with the elections, disagreement. They never agree in Afghanistan. So, but to have democracy or nation building, that it was not done in Afghanistan, unfortunately. It takes time, many years. It takes time. But coming from that perspective into the United States, so that I've got my wife here, I've got my kids here, 4 of my kids, they are going into a better education. My son is going to Montgomery College, and he just jumped from the 10th grade to the Montgomery College. So what is your dual enrollment, or what is it? Early college program. So he got into early college program, which I'm very proud of him. And then my wife is working in this Hazara ethnicity in Afghanistan. Bruce has worked with them. We've been into Bamiyan, the central highland of Afghanistan. There is a huge difference between a Hazara and a Pashtun. So in a Pashtun, it's really difficult that you can bring their wife, for example, into a seminar like that. So it's their tradition is really hard. The one with the Taliban is most of them in Pashtun. So, but I do have a job. My wife is working, and we have got our house. So we are happy. We're really happy in the US. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And by the way, this road fighter, we are called road fighter, okay? He calls me road fighter and I calls him road fighter because we went into so many remote areas in Afghanistan that I never been before although I was 18 years old, but I never went to a places before without him. So we went together and then it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to others to call each other road fighter, but we were fighting roads in helping and helping people in there. So he is a role model for me. So I use a lot.
And I'm so delighted that now 21 years later,
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah. From Bamiyan to United States. B2B. All right. Thank you very much for your attention.